You may be asking yourself, damn, those are two good-looking dudes up there. One's wearing a jacket, one's wearing a tie. That's because we have a special show today. We got the Coasties back. The Coasties are back, guys. Clap it up for the Coasties. For those of you that don't know, it is our award show. We typically do it at the end of every sports season. Last year, we did the NBA season. Now, MLB season's officially come to the end. Regular season, postseason's in full effect right now. Full effect. So we'll be giving out our MLB awards: MVP, least valuable player, best fan base. You know, we have the traditional awards, and we also have some of our own awards that we like to add that we think are fun and like to add to it and make it a little more fun than that. So let's before we get any more into that, just welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast Sports / Coasties Awards. So we thank you guys for hanging out with us. YouTube, check us out on Spotify, check us out on YouTube, and hang out with us on Twitter. We have polls up about postseason baseball, who we think is going to win this series, what the next series is going to be like. We've been interacting with fans, and we really appreciate you guys so much. So make sure you check us out there. And before we get started, John, you got anything to say to the people?
Postseason baseball is the best. And I think...
so good.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah, lay it on me.
Are you guys willing to change your minds about October being not the best month in sports?
It was, honestly, when we went over this whole debate a couple months ago, October was my fallback because, obviously, postseason soccer starts as well. Like, that stuff starts kicking into full gear.
Okay.
So I was also in that boat, but I also just like the fact that I have more of my other sports too ramping up again in the month that I picked. So it is looking to be really good right now. October is awesome. October is an awesome time for sports, no doubt about it. But anything else you got to say to the people other than October's the best?
October's the best.
October's the best. Ryan, you got anything to say to people before we get started?
No, not really.
You got nothing to say to people?
Nothing to say.
Nothing to say to people? Well, here, before I pull up the quote, because I'll come up with a quote.
Okay.
Let's give our fan, because we're not going to talk NFL today. There just wasn't a whole lot that happened, and we also have some other stuff we want to get to in the show.
Yeah.
Let's do our fantasy update. Ryan, did you win this past week?
I did.
Who did you play?
Beat your brother, Cameron.
Cameron, all right.
We were both, I think, 3-1 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I won by 8 points, roughly. Going into Sunday night, I was up, I think it was around 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a 96% chance to win because...
All you need to do is your running back not to give you negative points, right?
Correct. Because
So,
T. Higgins wasn't going to play.
T. Higgins was not playing. So, I mean, hey, you won. You're 4-1.
4-1.
Only lost to me,
Yep.
which is shocking if you look at how good my team's playing right now.
Just that first game of the year, the Colts,
The Colts didn't. The Colts were okay. The Colts, we tied, so we weren't like big, but my team scored.
And you went like
overtime.
17 overtimes or whatever.
No, you only have one overtime in the NFL, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, you bitch.
Still 20.
But you're 4-1.
17 more minutes.
I'll do mine because mine's less impressive, and we'll end on more impressive.
Okay.
I am 2-3.
Yeah.
Correct.
You are
2-3.
2-3.
2-3. It doesn't help that my best running back has sat out a game, and also the Colts got shut out in one game, so that hurt me in the 2 weeks. And then my number one wide receiver hasn't played since week 1, so I'm more of on that injury bug list where if I feel like my team's fully healthy and we're fully playing, I would be in a much better spot. It's ironic, like the first week where my entire team was healthy, I scored 132 points, which is pretty good. That's a pretty good amount of points.
Mm-hmm.
I have broken 100 one time since then. And the other times I've been 91 and below.
Yeah.
The other 3 weeks that I've lost. So my team's not doing great. We're not balling out. I just feel like if we got fucking healthy, I'd be in a lot better spot than where I am at right now. So it's a very frustrating. I did lose this past week by a lot. I played my brother. Ironically, lost to my other brother. 4 of his players beat my entire 9-player roster. His other 5 players could have not played. They all could have died in a bus crash or blown their ACLs out before the game even started. He still would have beat me. So, yeah, not a good week for me. So, John, on the other hand, had quite the impressive week.
Yep. I played one of our former guests in Shane Lee.
Sugar Shane.
And he's
got a decent team. He's got an okay team.
To be kind to him, he's got maybe like the second worst team in the league.
100%.
I scored 172 points.
Yeah, you just you
won the
dog
week.
walked 'em.
Highest score of the week, highest score of the season. Look, I had 130 some points going into that Monday Night Football game with the Kansas City Chiefs, and then Travis Kelce decided to get 4 touchdowns and score me 33.
And the
and a half
most
points.
ironic stat line too. He had 25 receiving yards for 4 touchdowns. Just a wild stat line, but that's fine. It's
But
whatever.
also PPR league scored 7, had 7 receptions. So
Mhm.
I mean, it was a good week for your boy here. Dallas defense and special teams scored touchdowns. They got me 22 points.
Yeah.
Kelsey was my highest scorer at 33. Diggs also got me 24.2. Tucker got me 16 points. And look, I told you guys,
Geno Smith.
you guys are gonna regret letting me pick up Geno Smith. You guys are gonna be
34 points.
you guys are
Geno
gonna be
Smith.
crying when you're handing me over your cold hard cash.
Cold hard catch for sure. So that's kind of how our fantasy teams are looking. That's your little bit of the update for this week. But I'm set to rally here. I'm playing John this week, and I smell an upset. John's got 2 of his better players on a bye.
Two of my role players.
2 of your better players.
One of them is my better player. The other one's a role player.
All right, fine. We'll just make it all encompassing 2 role players
Yeah.
because his team obviously is good. I smell an upset. My top wide receiver hasn't played in 4.5 weeks, so I figured maybe this will be his time to come back and actually be worth a damn.
Maybe.
And Jonathan Taylor took last week off, and we're playing Jacksonville this week. So
Okay.
going against tough defense, and
Who's gonna want to play?
he's gonna want to play. So hopefully look for something big there,
I think I'm a 4-point favorite according to the ESPN.
according to the projected points.
Yeah.
But I'll get us with a quote, and then we'll get fully into the show.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Compromise is the theft of joy.
Oh wow.
Don't compare yourself to others because you ruin your own joy. Look at where you were, compare yourself to where you are now, and be happy with that. Don't compare yourself to someone else that's much further down the road. So compromise is the theft of joy. I heard that the other day, pulled out the old phone, wrote that down, enjoyed it. So
There you go.
let's give you a little bit preview of the show. We're going to talk a little bit college football, our poll, as always. Jump right into the Coasty Awards, and then we'll do the pick'ems, and then the 2-minute drill to wrap it up. So a little bit different show, a little bit different pace, but that's what we're here for. We're here to give you variety.
Yeah.
So that's all that matters. So let's get right into it. John, Ryan, would you be so kind to pull up the poll? And 3, 2, 1.
That was my snap game.
That was John's snap. In case you weren't tapped in. So here's our poll. I hear it's pretty. Let's bring out just jump out to what we noticed right away. Ohio State, new number 1.
Yep.
I put them at number 1 on my poll this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ohio State has looked not necessarily the best from week 1 to now, but they have looked the most consistent. So that's the reason I had them. I had them jump to number 1 on my poll for that reason. They didn't look great against Notre Dame. They didn't look bad. They didn't look great. And then the question marks all about the defense of what Jim Knowles is going to be able to do. I think a lot of those are finally being answered. And they've played most consistent football, I would say, in the entire country, in my opinion. Georgia obviously had 2 back-to-back bad weeks. Alabama lost to Texas, which is aging, almost lost to Texas, which is aging actually pretty well for them. And they had a 4-point win against Texas A&M with the backup quarterback, so there's some controversy there, but
A&M was also playing a backup quarterback, so
no doubt. But it's a little bit different. So I had Alabama fall from my 1 spot, and I had Ohio State take them over. But let's just get that out of the way. Ohio State taking over the number 1 spot.
Yeah, and I think it's well deserved. It was almost unanimous that they were the number 1. Everybody had Ohio State in their top 2, which is the first week that's happened. And a lot of people were kind of inconsistent on where they put Georgia and Alabama, which kind of grew Ohio State's margin a little bit, even if not everybody had Ohio State at 1, but it kind of became
A numbers game at that
You know
point.
who
numbers
didn't have
game.
Ohio State on 1?
Who did? Who?
It was,
Paul Feinbaum.
most people, like if you look around, most analysts are putting Ohio State 1.
Right,
It's
like-
literally just the AP poll.
He gets, railed in the ass by the SEC on the daily, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which he's an SEC reporter, as you would expect him to. If you had a Big Ten reporter putting Alabama at 1, you'd probably be like, oh my God, this guy putting Alabama at 1. That's crazy. So let's just go through our Spotify viewers who are listening on. 1 through 5 has a little bit of change other than just Ohio State being number 1, but Georgia number 2, Alabama number 3, That's the only kind of little flip-flop there. And then 4 is Clemson, and then 5 is Tennessee Volunteers. I believe they cracked our top 5.
Yeah, and Clemson did too because Michigan and USC fell out of the top 5.
Yes.
So we have 2 new top 5 teams.
So then 6 through 10, we got the Michigan Wolverines, 7, USC Trojans, 8, Oklahoma State, 9, Penn State, 10, Ole Miss, and then 11 through 15, we got Oregon, 12, UCLA Bruins, 13, TCU, 14, the Wolfpack of NC State, 15, the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest, then 16 through 20, we got the Kansas State Wildcats, 17, Mississippi State, 18, Syracuse Orange, 19, Utah Utes, and then 20, the Kansas Jayhawks, and then 21 through 25, we have the Fighting Illini in Illinois, and then 22 is Texas Longhorns, 23, UC Bearcats, 24, Minnesota, and then 25, JMU, the Dukes.
Yep.
So that's kind of our top 25 right now. The biggest thing that we want to kind of bring up is obviously OSU takes over number 1.
Yep.
Tennessee goes from 8 to 5, so basically going from a fringe first 2 out to solidifying themselves, especially after this week, could be a contender to make the playoffs, college football playoffs, especially with them playing Alabama at Tennessee this year.
Yeah.
So it's not, I guess not at Tennessee, it's home.
It's at home.
It's at home.
Yeah.
So UCLA went from 16 to 12, getting closer to cracking that top 10, undefeated, put the work in on Utah this past weekend.
Look good.
Looked great, actually. And then TCU went from 20 to 13 as well. Big jump from them, beating the Jayhawks. And not a barn burner, but definitely of a well-played 2 offensive games. I felt like Kansas had some of the momentum there, and then the quarterback goes out, and you have the backup come in last couple drives or series, I believe.
Yeah.
But he put out a really well. It was a very, very exciting game. I thoroughly enjoyed that game.
Yeah, I had this game on one of the 3 TVs I was watching on Saturday, along with the Guardians and I forgot the third game I was watching, but it was on one of the TVs. And, I mean, it lived up to the hype. It was probably one of the better games of the weekend. Kansas has nothing to hang their head on. They played well. And when you're the Kansas Jayhawks, you know, I know you don't want to hear this, but, I mean,
You're not a football powerhouse.
you're not a football powerhouse, but you're still in the top 25. You still got everything in front of you, and you looked good. I mean, I wouldn't complain if I were a Kansas Jayhawk fan having to live with what they have been.
Let's not get it twisted, especially if you're a Kansas fan. They still have a very, very real chance of making the Big 12 championship game and could win it, too. They have to win out, and they've got some tough games ahead of them, but they are not completely out of the mix here.
They're not out of it, but I would say this loss hurts them a lot. I mean, just
Wait, is
because
Big 12 divisions or no?
it's not. So they have to be one of the top 2 teams, and, I mean, they got all their tough games kind of ahead of them. I'm kind of looking at more of an 8 or 7 or 8 win ball team, I think.
Yeah.
Here.
It's just, the thing is, Oklahoma, I know they have to play, which Oklahoma's kind of fallen off the
I
rails.
think they beat Oklahoma.
Yeah. But
They
Oklahoma
got to play
State,
Texas. They
Oklahoma
got to play
State
Baylor.
plays, who they play this week?
Oklahoma State plays TCU. So
TCU,
that'll be a
so that
big
could
game.
that could be a loss for one of them. That generates one loss at least out of those 2 teams.
Yeah.
But Texas 2-loss team already,
Yeah.
correct?
But 1 in conference. So.
1 in conference. Oh, it's only conference. Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, 1 in conference. So they already have a loss there. So it's not like they're out of it. It obviously makes the path a little harder, obviously. But I think that Kansas could still do it.
Yeah, if they went out there in the Big 12 championship, I just think, I mean, they got to play Oklahoma State, they got to play Texas, they got to play Oklahoma, they got to play Baylor. All their tough games are ahead of them. I would say it's far more likely that they don't make it. The world exists where they do. It just I hope
it's this world.
I hope it's this world. I love my Jayhawks, but
I cannot emphasize enough. We are a pro Jayhawk podcast.
we're a pro Jayhawk podcast.
We rock said chalk.
We rock a little shot.
That's all I'm saying. But dropping out of our poll,
Yeah.
only 3 teams. Last week I think we had like 5 teams drop out. But dropping out of our poll, we had Washington, Kentucky, and BYU.
Yeah.
And then coming into the poll, we had Texas, Illinois, and then the JMU Dukes. I feel like this is a pretty solid poll. I kind of a little surprised with Washington and Kentucky with how poorly they played the past 2 weeks. I mean, Kentucky was in my top 10 3 weeks ago, and now they're out of my top 25. So they have not played their best ball of late, and especially when you lose the way that you have to not the most desirable teams either.
Yeah, I mean, looking at both Washington and Kentucky, these are both two teams that have lost their last two. Washington losing to a very bad Arizona State team, just fired their coach. I think we already had them, I believe, we had them at 21 last week.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to drop out.
100%.
And Kentucky losing their second straight week. I think Ole Miss not looking good against Vanderbilt. I mean, they pulled away at the end, but it wasn't
It was close
pretty.
in like the third quarter, fourth quarter.
It wasn't.
I think Vanderbilt was winning or a close game, and I was hoping Vanderbilt would win, so I could come in here and talk my shit a little bit, be like, "Ha Vanderbilt hasn't completely let me down," but then they ended up losing by 20.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been saying this, that Kentucky Ole Miss game was a game between two frauds.
Yeah,
and
Ole Miss has a chance to prove. Ole Miss will be proven fraudulent. Give it time, in due time.
Yeah, and then Kentucky, you can't lose to South Carolina. That was just at home. It was just a bad loss.
Especially because South Carolina has not looked good.
Yeah, and I thought they should have. I think Kentucky was 15 last week, so they go from 15 to unranked. But I thought they should have been lower than 15 to begin with. But yeah, and then BYU picking up their second loss. You're not a Power 5 team. They do have some games in front of them to where they can.
Well, the problem is
jump back
that
on
the two teams that they lost to are two teams that would be the chance to prove that you belong in the top 25, and they lost to both of them. So it's not like, oh my god, you lost.
They beat Baylor.
Who's
So
not in our top 25.
Yeah, but they were at the time, and I think they're close. I mean, Baylor still has 2 losses. They can jump back in the poll, and that's the other thing too. I mean, if we're gonna, Notre Dame also has 2 losses. BYU has 2 losses. Notre Dame just beat BYU, so we're going to put Notre Dame in there probably, I would assume,
Eventually.
before we put
It's just
BYU back in.
the way I look at it is BYU, the two teams that they lost to, are two teams that you would argue that are bigger, better programs and should beat BYU. And if you want to prove that you should belong in the top 25 and belong in, big bowl games and stuff like that, you got to beat the teams. Like Cincinnati last year. Cincinnati went to Notre Dame and beat Notre Dame at home. Like, they proved that they can go on the road and, go in any environment and compete and even win the game. BYU made it close at the end, but, going in Nevada, which I didn't even know BYU was allowed to be in Las Vegas, to be quite frank. I figured that would be a disadvantage in the whole heartbeat of it. But you got to prove that you can play against these big-time teams and these big-time programs and show that you can handle yourself. And 2 times they had a chance to prove that. They didn't. Baylor obviously is the exception. Like, they beat Baylor, and I'm not knocking them for that, but Baylor also is. I'd say Baylor's very Oklahoma-esque. Like, how we thought Baylor and Oklahoma were going to be really good this year, and then neither of them are top 25 or even in the AP top 25 and haven't looked particularly very good. So
I would still say they've just haven't passed. They're 1 for 3 on their test. That's what I would say. I would say Baylor still counts as a test. Baylor.
It counts as a test. I'm just saying you can't be expecting to be a top 25 when you lose to other 2 teams.
Yeah, they should.
If they were 2 for 3, they're making top 25 here.
Yeah, but yeah, they deserve to fall off. But
and then I feel like you had to like Texas. Look for Texas here to make some big jumps here. Yeah. I know they're a 2-loss team. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. A lot would have to happen.
There's a world where they do.
There is a world where they do, and a lot would have to happen. Like Ohio State would have to lose. Michigan would have to lose. And then one of them would have to lose to, obviously, Ohio State playing each other, and Michigan would have to lose to each other. So that generates 2 losses there, and of recent. Tennessee would have to definitely lose. There would have to be a lot to happen. But there is a world where it exists.
I don't think both Ohio State and Michigan need a loss, but if one of them comes out with 2 losses, that opens the door for Texas. Because I think a Big Ten team's getting in no matter what. An SEC team is getting in no matter what.
I'm just saying, if you're going to look at if Ohio State goes undefeated,
I think you're more looking at a Clemson to lose and a USC. So maybe I would be pulling big for Notre Dame if I'm Texas.
Yeah.
And then
see, to me, the SEC and the Big Ten are the 2 hardest ones, because if Ohio State goes undefeated or Michigan goes undefeated, they're making the college football playoff, no doubt.
Sure, yeah.
Same thing with Alabama and or Georgia, no doubt.
Yeah.
Both of us. So that's already 2 spots locked. The thing is, you'd be trying to convince a committee to put a 2-loss Texas team over a 1-loss Alabama team or Georgia, or a 1-loss Ohio State or Michigan team. And like I said, I think they would need to generate 2 losses for them to make that argument.
I think if Alabama is the team that comes out of the SEC and it's Georgia with 2 losses, I think that helps Texas out a bit just because
they lost
they lost
on a backup quarterback too.
Yeah, Texas had all the calls against them. They missed a chip shot field goal, only lost by 2, lost on a last-second field goal.
Lost by 1.
Yeah, so, yeah, 1 or 2. And then, so I believe that would help Texas's case. And I think maybe like a Tennessee and Georgia kind of canceling themselves out. And then if Clemson can pick up a loss, I think that would help Texas out. So I think the only real scenario is like Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State as the Big Ten representative. Alabama needs to be the SEC representative, and then maybe they can fall in at 3 or 4. Maybe they need one of USC or Clemson to kind of like really fall off.
Yeah, it's a hard path for them to do it.
Yeah.
Not impossible, but it is definitely a hard path.
There is a world. It'd be tough this year.
Yeah. So that pretty much wraps up our college football talk.
Yeah.
Which means our baseball COASTY'S Awards is coming next. But before we do that, let's get into our first sponsor of the podcast, and that is our good friends at Peatabilities. Check out Peatabilities' website. They are a street food / fast casual food establishment. If you check out their website, they've got food trucks spread all across the Columbus area. They'll tell you where they're at and where they're located for the day. Or if you're looking for more of that brick and mortar feel, check them out in Old Hilliard, Ohio, in the Crooked Can facilities. They've got they've got a stall there where you can go get your food, sit down, have a beer on a weekend, or maybe a little workday beer. Hey, I didn't say it. But they have the beer there as well. But make sure you check out Peatability's food stall there. They've got the best food, in my opinion, in the fast casual industry, especially when you're looking from a food truck standpoint as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very, very on the kick right now of the falafel. I'm going a little bit less meat. Going to go more like that vegan route.
Okay.
Give me some falafel in a pita, Bella sauce coated, banana peppers, lettuce, a little bit of black olive. Give that little salty texture as well. I'm impervious to that right now with dessert cinnamon chips on top of it all. To me, you can't beat it. It's the best food ever. I mean, John, what are you feeling this week?
I mean, I say this every week. I got to go with the Old Faithful. Got to go with the buffalo chicken. Get a little ranch, get a little blue cheese on there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one of the best pitas out there.
Yeah, and to me personally, you can't go wrong with it. Who goes wrong with the buffalo chicken? You really can't.
You can't.
So make sure you check out our friends at Peatabilities. Check out their website, see where their food trucks are located at for the day, or check them out in the brick and mortar store in the Cricket Can facility in Old Hilliard, Ohio. Thank you so much for sponsoring the pod. We love them. They love us. Make sure you let them know that we sent you. But let's get down to the nitty gritty. It is the Coast to Coast Awards show. Ladies and gentlemen, strap in. We have made it. Baseball season, regular season has officially come to the end. We have our awards to give out.
Yes.
It'll be some heated debates. It'll be some heated topics. But either way, we still respect each other. And at the very end, we gave what we had a discussion over our best 9 players plus a starting pitcher. Well, I guess the 9 would be technically a starting pitcher, or however you view it.
So now,
If you count the DH as
you said DH.
Yeah, I don't know if you
got
count
a
the DH as part of the 9, or do you count the pitcher as part of the 9?
Well, I mean, for the flow, you could have just kept it with the 9 and then the pitchers.
Okay, so then we got the 9, which includes the DH, and then we have a starting pitcher and a closer.
There we go.
We have what we talked about before the podcast started, who we thought should be. We made our own best 9 plus 2 in baseball, essentially. So we'll be revealing that at the very end. It's our all MLB Coast to Coast team. But let's get into our first award. I feel like we'll save the MVP for last. I feel like most people would start with the MVP.
Yeah, some people say MVP.
I want to give them a little bit of taste of everything. So the first award that we're going to be going with is the Cy Youngs of the. And by the way, this is NL and AL. John, who is your AL? We'll do alphabetical first. AL Cy Young Award winner. Who you got?
I'm not trying to pander to you, but he earned it this year, so I got to go with the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who bangs Kate Upton on a nightly basis, Justin Verlander.
He's winning on the field and off the
Winning
field.
on and off the field. So shout out you, Justin.
Justin.
You are my AL Cy Young of the year.
You know, I'm not going to even sugarcoat it. I had the same thing. Shane McClanahan for the Rays gave it a very good run.
McClanahan.
little bit of injury towards the end of the season may have swayed that, but also Justin Verlander had the best ERA in all of baseball, like I think the highest with. Not even like top 5 in strikeouts, but still very good in strikeouts, and also had second most wins, but had the most wins in the AL. But he was very worth every single penny of his contract, especially coming back from Tommy John's. We don't have a comeback player of the year.
No.
But if you had one, I feel like it's either him or Acuna, and I think you would pick him. He's also my AL Cy Young Award winner. But John, who's your NL?
First, I want to apologize. I told myself I was going to learn how to pronounce this man's name.
Oh, God.
And I forgot to do that.
That's okay.
But my NL Cy Young, I think he will win it in real life. I think it's almost pretty unanimous. I'm going with Marlins pitcher Sandy Alcantara.
I think that's pretty close.
I think it's something like that.
That's pretty close.
I apologize if you're listening.
And we know you are.
And we know you are. But I'm going with Alcantara. I think he's been the best pitcher in the NL by a pretty decent margin.
Feel free to come on the pod and let us know how to pronounce your name.
Yeah, I would love that.
I would love that too. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it either, John.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat as you. He had the most complete games, I believe, in all MLB this year. He had a great ERA for that. So when you pitch 9 innings consistently, I think he had like 7 or 8 complete games, like something just absurd. You don't see very often, especially in today's baseball.
Yeah.
He was the only bright spot of the Marlins. The Marlins were supposed to be a fun, young, exciting team like Cleveland is this year.
Yeah.
And they just weren't.
Top division.
Have a ton of young fireballers in the pitching staff, and he was the only bright spot they had. So I'm also going with Sandy as my NL Cy Young. Spencer Strider and or Kyle Wright was a sneaky NL Cy Young as well, but I just feel like Sandy really truly held it down for the Marlins this year. So he is also my NL Cy Young. So far we're 2 for 2 on the same thinking here.
We're 2 for 2.
And for those of you that don't know, we did not discuss our award.
We did not.
We did not go like, oh, who do you think you're going to pick for MVP? And John goes on picking, Alex Bregman. And I'd be like, oh, well, I'm picking Justin Verlander's my MVP. We didn't talk about this before.
In our defense, those are 2 pretty unanimous picks.
Yes. I feel like a lot of people are on the same page. But
yeah.
So we go for some Cy Youngs. Let's go to the rookies.
Okay.
Rookie of the Year awards. Do you want me to go first, or would you like to go first?
If we start with the AL, I'll go first.
AL, Rookie of the Year, who do you like?
I mean, it's my boy, Stephen fucking Kwan.
You're picking Stephen Kwan?
It's Stephen fucking Kwan.
Oh, okay.
If Stephen Kwan's not your AL Rookie of the Year, you don't deserve a vote. I mean, he hits for average. He steals. He's probably the most consistent hitter in baseball.
I believe he's up for a Gold Glove.
He's up for
he's good as a rookie for defense,
and he's good in the field.
Mm-hmm.
He scores so many runs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not only does he just get on base all the time, he just scores runs, and the Guardians find a way to get him in a lot. I think he's worthy of the AL Rookie of the Year.
Listen, Stephen Kwan was on my fantasy baseball team. Shout out Payne. He told me to pick him up 2 weeks into the season.
Shout out Kwan.
And I was already looking into him. Don't get me wrong, but shout him out. Stephen Kwan provided me a lot of points this year.
Yep.
Unfortunately, this is where we waver. My AL Rookie of the Year, it pains me to say this. I wanted to pick Jeremy Pena. I had him as my AL Rookie of the Year before the season started when we had our guest on, Gus.
Yes.
We were talking about Rookies of the Year and all that stuff. Adley Rutschman gave it an honest go. If he got called up sooner, I think he would be more in this discussion. You talked about Stephen Kwan, I believe, our old when we were talking about the baseball.
I brought him up, but I deferred to Whit Merrifield back then.
Or Bobby Witt Jr.
That's
Bobby Witt Jr.
I get that.
I said Jeremy Payne was going to be Rookie of the Year because he's going to be a product of a really good lineup and a really good team, and he's still in the discussion.
Yeah,
he's probably top 3 at the end of it all. But Julio Rodriguez for the Mariners put together a really, really good season. I believe he had like 27, 28 home runs, most by a rookie in a long time. Stole 25 bases this year. He's in the company with average. He has better average and I believe slugging than Ken Griffey Jr. and Alex Rodriguez for the Mariners as rookies. I feel like if you're in that company, that's pretty good company to be in. I think he's going to be the runaway Rookie of the Year. It might be unanimous. I'd like to see Jeremy get a vote. I'd like to see Kwan get a vote. But I'm going Julio Rodriguez. He also spent some time on the IR as well. So the fact that he put this season together with some stents, with some back issues, with some hand issues as well, I think goes to show how special of a player he is. And, He's in the same division as the Astros, so it's hard to root for him and even pick him here. But I'm not just because I don't like the team doesn't mean I'm not going to put them. I've set my bias aside. He put together a really, really good season, and at the end of the day, he's probably one of the best players in that lineup to this day. So
To this day.
to this day. So Julio Rodriguez and Stephen Kwan, shout out. You are my and John's COASTY'S AL Rookie of the Year, NL Rookie of the Year. John, who you got?
I mean, there's a couple ways you can go with this. The way that I am deciding to go with this, I'm going with my NL Rookie of the Year, Braves starting pitcher, Spencer Strider. I think he's just been the most consistent. The Braves kind of battled with injuries this year. Still came back on the Mets in the division. Spencer Strider's a huge part of that, and I think he deserves his due diligence. I believe that he has a good shot. I think he can win it. But my vote is for Spencer Strider.
This was a tough one. I racked my brain here. I drafted Spencer Strider in my fantasy baseball
Good
league.
for you. I'm sure that was
like a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
And he paid off absolute dividends for me.
Yep.
He's the reason I won my fantasy baseball league this year.
Yep.
So shout out him.
Shout out Spencer.
Honestly, I'm between both of the Braves players. It's either Spencer Strider for me or Mitchell Harris the second.
Yeah.
Both of them played really well. I think Mitchell blossomed once Margot got in trouble again, and also Acuna was coming back from injury, so he obviously had some chances to flourish there as well. O'Neal Cruz, I would like to have seen maybe be on a better team. I think he would have been in much more of this discussion as well.
Because he's good.
Another person I'm not disappointed in, like I said, he's just on a bad team, is our good friend Hunter Green.
Yeah, I mean,
he had a very, very hot start, a very, very good start, and even a decent finish. He just didn't get there all the way.
He lost a lot of games, and he was injured a lot. So the 100 and however many 100-mile-per-hour pitches he threw was nice and all, but I mean, he doesn't have the wins or stats to really bring him into this conversation.
Months ago, I picked Saren Suzuki just because he's an older guy. Played a lot of baseball in Japan. Figured he'd flourish over here. Also on the IR stint as well, and also Cubs not very good too. Yeah, I think that the two, these two rookies that we're giving these awards to definitely benefited from a solid team around them. Guardians not necessarily the best team in all of baseball, but they made the playoffs, won their division, and have a solid team around them. Seattle, not the best team in baseball, very good team around them, and obviously won a bunch of games. Same thing with Houston. Yeah, Braves are arguably one of the best teams in all of baseball, behind the Dodgers, right, of the NL. So. I'm also going Spencer Strider. I think he was up there for a Cy Young. If you're a rookie and you're in talks as being a Cy Young candidate, he was one of the backbones of the Braves lineup this year and rotation this year, and he definitely got them a bunch of wins and also had a ton of strikeouts this year. And they also just signed him to like an extension for $72 million, something like that. So the Braves. Rookie of the Year is going to be with the Braves. I know it's between both Braves anyway. Rookie of the Year, Spencer Strider. So both in agreement there. Rookie of the Year, well done. Well done. So congratulations to our winners for the Rookie of the Year. But let's get to arguably the more important overall award here. Most Valuable Player. John, AL, Most Valuable Player. Who you got?
I wanted to be that guy.
You wanted to be or didn't want to be that guy?
I wanted to be that guy to go somewhere different.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking around, seeing what I could kind of goof off with.
Mess around with.
I just couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be an injustice for me to say anybody else's name. I'm going with the New York Yankees outfielder Aaron Judge.
Mm-hmm.
62 home runs is a lot of home runs. We can debate all day if the record's worth how much attention we give it. But at the end of the day, 62 home runs is a lot of home runs for one season, and he deserves an AL MVP.
Yeah, no. My MVP, if you would have asked me a month ago, 2 months ago, I would have said Justin Verlander.
Yeah.
Was on pace to get 20 wins, have a best ERA in baseball, and was going to have a better season, arguably, than what he did when he won the MVP in like 2012 or, whenever he did.
Yeah.
But you go on the IL, miss 2 starts, don't get a couple wins when you should have. That kind of hurt his case there. Also, my MVP will be Aaron Judge as well. And not only the 62 home runs. 62 home runs, broken the AL record. Phenomenal. Great. Also led the AL and the entire league, I believe, in RBIs with like 130 or 120 something.
He was up there.
And had a chance at the Triple Crown and missed on the Triple Crown, not by a lot. I believe he lost by 6 points. I think he hit like 310, and the person that won it was like 316.
Okay.
So anytime you're going for a Triple Crown and had a good chance of winning it, the last person to hit the Triple Crown was Miguel Cabrera, and he won the MVP when he did it. So it's one of those ones where it's like you don't like to root for the guy because he plays for the Yankees. Maybe if he played for Boston, maybe it's different. Or if he, played for the A's, it's different. But plays for the Yankees, one of the most hated franchises in all of baseball and all of sports, probably.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge deserves every minute of this MVP.
Yeah.
He should. Shohei Ohtani should get some credit too, but he's not the best hitter in baseball, and he wasn't the best pitcher in baseball. So to me, it's hard to be, getting MVP in one of those. So Aaron Judge definitely runaway AL MVP this year. I think it probably will be unanimous. I would say. Yeah. I don't even know who would be second. Maybe Shohei.
I would say Shohei would be second. Yeah.
So let's go to the NL.
NL
MVP. Who do you got, John?
There's a couple ways you can go with this. I don't think this is as unanimous as the AL, but I think this man still has a pretty good shot. Like it's almost certain he'll win. I'm going with first baseman from the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm going Paul Goldschmidt. I think he just had a really good season this year. I know the Cardinals got bounced already, but the Cardinals still put a good season together. They were fighting the Brewers there for a little bit, then the Brewers kind of sold, but then the Brewers kind of came back. Right. But it really wasn't in doubt. I mean, I feel like we kind of knew the Cardinals would come away with that division about the All-Star break. I think it was pretty. I don't think they had the lead at the time, but they were just playing the type of ball that you just expect to overcome what the Brewers were doing. And I think Paul Goldschmidt's a big reason why that was the case, and I'm going with Paul Goldschmidt as my NL MVP.
And I'm going to be right there with you. Paul Goldschmidt also chance to win the Triple Crown. I believe he missed out. I think he finished second in home runs and second in RBIs. So he was also right there along with Aaron Judge in the same category. I believe he won it for average. Definitely the brightest spot. I feel like a lot of what he did this year got overshadowed with Albert Pujols last year, chase for 700. Yeah. And it was Yachty's last year and potentially Wainwright's last year. So I think a lot of that got overshadowed by what he was doing and how well he was doing it. But I'm also going Paul Goldschmidt. I know, like you said, it's a runaway favorite. I think Manny Machado deserves some nods. Freddie Freeman definitely deserves some nods as well.
Sure.
But to me, it was Paul Goldschmidt. Anytime you're going for a Triple Crown and you're just barely missing out on it, should definitely be worthy of the MVP.
Absolutely.
So here's one of our coast-to-coast special, not like a real award, but it's the real award in our eyes. The least valuable player. Let's go AL first. John, least valuable player, AL.
I mean, look, I'm looking around the AL. I'm looking at who disappointed. Who were the big losers of the year. I think the first team that comes to everyone's mind is the White Sox, hailing from the south side of Chicago. And I'm looking at this team. Who was the biggest letdown? I think Yasmani Grandal might take.
Did you pick Yasmani Grandal?
I did.
You fucking goddamn.
You
That's who I had. I'll pick someone else to do some diversification because I have a few guys.
Okay.
So you go with your guy, Yasmani Grandal.
Yeah, I'm going with Yazzie. Look, he was bad this year.
He was bad.
He was
awful, actually.
He was quite literally terrible. And I mean, you look at all the preseason projections, who people thought. I mean, the White Sox are supposed to run away with this division.
Oh, 100%.
And they lost this division. It ended up being like 11, 12 games.
Yeah.
10, 12, 11 games. And this was ugly. And I think the White Sox, whoever I decided to pick, I felt like my least valuable player needed to be a Chicago White Sox in one form or another.
Yeah, see, I was going to pick him, so that definitely puts me on the spot. I'll pick somebody from the Red Sox, because the Red Sox, I felt like severely underperformed this entire year.
I would say, yeah, they would be one.
Oh, actually, you know what? No, not Red Sox. I'm also going to pick somebody from
The White Sox?
No.
Oh.
AL Central.
Twins.
No.
Oh. Royals?
Nope. Tigers.
Tigers?
Picking some for the
yeah.
Tigers.
Yeah, I know you're picking.
Who am I picking?
I mean, you say it.
No, you say it.
Javi Baez?
Javi Baez. I'm picking my guy Javi Baez. I think that when Detroit signed him for a bunch of money, they really thought they were going to get 2016 Chicago Cubs Javi Baez back, or 2017.
2016 was when they
2016.
won.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he just has not lived up to the paycheck that he got. So I'm going to go with him. Obviously, the Tigers not been good all year.
Nope.
I was going to pick Yasmani Grandal, but I'll pick Javi Baez. And from the Red Sox, too, let's just go. Trevor Story had a very underwhelming year as well. Not necessarily he was like the least valuable, but
I mean, Yankees
Chris Sale would be another good person.
Yeah.
Coming back from injury, and then you fucking get wrecked on a bike, and then you miss the entire year. So he's another one. But I'll go Javi Baez.
Yeah.
AL Central. 2 least valuable players right there. NL. I feel like you and I have the same pick here. There's no way to hide behind this guy.
I haven't even picked anybody else.
Really? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
I'm picking Patrick Corbin. That dude is the worst
Yeah.
pitcher in baseball. He has the highest ERA in all of baseball, I believe. Has the highest paycheck in all of baseball for pitchers as well, remaining on his contract. And the Nationals cannot get rid of him because they can't move off of that contract. And he's still slated to make like $23 million.
Yeah.
So he is my least valuable. And I hope he comes back because I like Corbin.
Yeah.
And I think he's a good guy. Like, I don't think he's a bad person. But he has been the least valuable asset to a team that is paying that much money. Much similar to my like Javi Baez comparison as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with couldn't really think of anybody, so I'm just gonna go to the Reds, team I watch a lot. I'm just gonna go with Mike Moustakas. I think the guy is bad. I think the Reds need to get rid of him, and I'm going with Mike Moustakas.
Moustakas.
He gets paid a lot of money, doesn't do a lot of production.
Hey, I respect it.
Going with the Moose.
Heading to our last award.
Yes.
Our last award before the All MLB team, which isn't really an award. That's just like who we thought was the best in their positions. But last award, best fan base
and worst fan base. Can we start off with worst fan base?
Yeah, let's do worst fan base. Go ahead.
So you can say, "Oh, John, this is cheating. Postseason doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing regular season." I think I have a couple reasons why the New York Yankees are my least valuable fan base. First of all, as you know, I'm probably a big college football guy.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we were having to cut into college football to watch Aaron Judge hit a 60-second home run was absolute bullshit. If I wanted to watch the game, I'd turn on the game. And I thought it was dumb. And I have to hear how much importance this Yankee record holds. It's like, okay, I mean, if we still count all the cheaters. So like,
so why
until
not?
that's taken away, why is this so such like this much of importance?
Mm-hmm.
And also, last night was game 1 of the ALDS between the Guardians and the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Yankees fan sitting in the front row of Yankee Stadium
during
playoff baseball, and let's say hypothetically Josh Donaldson's up to bat, and he hits a near home run, it hits the wall, you have a chance to reach it to bring it into a home run, and you don't do that,
you're an idiot.
your pinstripes are gone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You lose your pinstripes. So I think you got to reach out. You got to at least touch that ball so it hits your hand and it counts as a home run.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do that for your guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's just poor fan attention, poor fan effort, because that could have given you another run and it turned into an out. So I think Yankees fans, just for that one home run, that wins that for me alone.
I'm actually picking the Yankees as well.
Oh, okay.
For a different reason.
Okay.
To me, I think no matter the circumstances, you support your team and you root for them teams through thick and thin. I get that. I root for that. But when a player of another team gets injured and you're shit-talking said player and potentially, remember, throwing racial slurs about said player and then also proceed to throw things at said opposing team, and especially because this hits close to the Cleveland Guardians as well, that to me makes you the worst fan base in all of baseball. You can be passionate about your team, but when you have the face of your franchise and Aaron Judge saying that is completely unacceptable for you throwing beer bottles or drinks at Cleveland outfielders as the medical staff is catering to Stephen Kwan, and also talking shit about him after he just got severely hurt, I think makes you a shitty fan base and a franchise as well. So they win my least valuable or worst fan base in baseball.
All right.
Let's go to the NL.
Or just the best. Oh, we're doing both.
Oh no, this is just in general. Okay, cool. I was making sure. Okay, yeah, just in general. Dope. Glad we're on the same page.
I only had Yankees. I would have
cool.
had to come up with something.
Best fan base.
I think the best fan base in all of baseball. Fucking Columbus Clippers.
Oh my god.
I think the Columbus Clippers. I mean, this ship was rocking all season.
The ship was rocking all season.
Huntington Park, Diamond Dog was absolutely killing it this year.
Crushed it.
I mean,
St. Mary Magdalene night.
Crushed it.
I
mean, this ship just rocks.
This
you
ship
just can't deny it.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a couple games this year. The place was rocking all year.
I had a great time at all the Clippers games I went
Look,
to.
Huntington Park's awesome, and I think the fans really show out for their Clips. So I think the ship truly did rock this year.
And also, really good at baseball.
And good at baseball, yeah.
And very good at baseball.
Clippers, good at baseball.
Clippers, good at baseball, confirmed.
Confirmed, yes.
My AL best fan base is also in the AL. I don't know if you count the Clippers in the AL. You feel like you have to, right?
They're in the International League.
Okay. Mine resides in the AL, and it is the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
And some might say, Harrison, the Oakland A's were awful this year. They had 0 fans at games most of the times. Yes, I completely agree. But one fan did receive oral relations in the top upper bowl during a game that got national media notice on the Twitter sphere, and also had fans then proceed to go to that same spot saying this team blows.
Yeah.
Or having those fun signs. And personally, I think with a team playing that bad and knowing that they're going to be awful, getting a little light, getting a little fun into the stadium, I loved it personally. Best fan base and all of baseball this year, and I was a huge supporter of it.
Yeah, so Clippers and A's.
Clippers and A's. You can't really go wrong with them.
Best fans in baseball.
Best fans in baseball. So, and I'll throw you a last curveball for you.
Okay.
Best storyline of the MLB this year.
Best storyline. I feel like it's pretty unanimous. I mean, it has to be how fucking terrible the White Sox were. I mean,
that's your best storyline?
Yeah, they sucked and it was awesome and it won me money.
Yeah.
So I'm going with okay, let me be real. I believe the division race in the NL East was probably the best storyline.
Captivating.
I thought that was a really fun division to watch this year. You had 3 really good teams, even though I don't really think the Phillies really had a shot.
Mm-hmm.
But they were a playoff team. And you also had the chase between the Mets and the Braves. Mets ended up blowing it at the end.
Of course.
Ended up tying in record, but there's no more game 163 anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the Braves won the tiebreaker because of the head-to-head. I thought it was just a really good series all year. The way it ended with the Mets only had to win one game of the series down in Atlanta. Braves end up sweeping. I thought the NL East was pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, it was great. I was flipping between 2 here. Yeah. Was it Pujols' chase for 700? Yeah. Was it Miguel Cabrera chase for 3,000? Which we knew that was going to happen because he,
it was.
We figured that would happen.
Yeah.
I thought those were 2 very good storylines, but I'm gonna just say the Cardinals team as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
That encompasses the 700 home runs. That encompasses Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina's battery of 323, I believe, total games, pitching and catching, and also Yadi's last year and potentially Wainwright. I feel like they were the best storyline in baseball. They didn't necessarily win the most games, definitely didn't look the best, but that was just a really fun storyline to kind of just follow. And they got bounced from the playoffs, which sucked, but 3 Hall of Fame careers come to an end potentially, 2 for sure.
Yeah.
And it was just good to see them go out on a high note.
Sure.
And then let's get to our all MLB team. First base. Feel like it's got to be obvious to you guys now. We picked him both as our MVP. Paul Goldschmidt made our all MLB team for us.
Yep.
Second base was kind of up for debate. We kind of debated back and forth on this. I believe who was it? Who were we debating between other than the person we selected?
It was Altuve and
Andre Jimenez was another good run before, but we kind of decided that Jimenez also split pretty well with shortstop as well through the season, so it's kind of hard to just rank him as only a second baseman. Same thing with Trey Turner. Trey Turner did play some second base this year, a good amount, but it's like you can't really pick him. We went with Altuve, hit 300, 28, 27 home runs, had a good WAR card as well. So we went with Altuve as the best second baseman in all of baseball for our award show.
Yep.
And then shortstop, another kind of a debate we had here, but I think we kind of ended up coming to the same conclusion. Trey Turner wins the All MLB COASTY'S shortstop. Batting phenomenal, fielding phenomenal. Set to hit the market this year as a free agent unless the Dodgers re-sign him. So we'll see how that goes. But John, you and I handle third baseman. I feel like this is another run. This one was a debated one for me. John and I ended up. I've been towards John. I wanted Jose Ramirez. I felt like he played really well and he was very valuable to his team. But we went with
Nolan. I just believe he's had the better year, put up some better numbers. Jose, when he was great, but he did go through some skids, and maybe that's just because I've seen him more than I've watched Nolan, just because we're in Ohio.
Yeah.
But I just believe Nolan had the better season.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I buckled on Nolan as winning it is as good as Jose Ramirez is offensively. His defense is good, but Nolan's is just that much better. He's a 7-time Platinum Glove winner for a reason. Probably going to win number 8 here.
Yeah.
Had defensive gems out the ass this year again, but obviously both offensively they're very good, but defensively I think that what gave me the nod to Nolan as well.
Yeah.
But going to catcher, this one was I personally didn't think this one was close.
No.
I feel like there was only really one really good catcher all year, consistently from start to finish, and he also caught the most innings this year too. So JT Realmuto for the Phillies, you are our catcher on the All MLB team.
Yeah, I mean he's earned it. He's by far the best. He really crushed it for the Phillies this year. When Harper was kind of out, I believe Schwarber missed some time as well. Castellanos had his slumps at times.
Yes.
JT was really the rock and the foundation of the Phillies making the playoffs this year, and he deserves our catcher.
100%. So now the outfield here, this is where it gets a little rocky.
Yeah.
I was kind of pulling for Kyle Tucker to make one of them. Silver Slugger Award winner probably this year. Has definitely a chance to win it. Very good defensive catcher as well. Had a very good year. A very underrated but good year. Bryce Harper when he's healthy. Obviously very good at the baseball. Juan Soto before he got traded was very good at the baseball.
Yep.
But I feel like our 3 that we landed on, Aaron Judge obviously has to make it.
Yep.
Mookie Betts, and Mike Trout. Mike Trout had a down year this year and hit 37 home runs.
Yep.
Had an injury extend, but still balled out. We almost went with a cop out and put Shohei Ohtani in, but we figured to ourselves that's kind of lame.
Yeah.
Kind of lame to go with that. So I feel like those are some of the best outfielders. You could argue maybe Mookie with the other, maybe Mookie or Trout, but Judge for sure, no doubt, 100% in.
Yep.
But the other 2, you could definitely have some substitutions there.
Yep, not much else to add. I believe. I mean, Judge was our unanimous AL MVP, so obviously he's in. I believe Mookie's had a really good season out in LA. Also with Trout out in LA, he missed so much time, and he ended up being really good, or still putting up good numbers. So I'm fine with these 3.
And then our DH, I believe, is also unanimous. It was between Shohei Ohtani and Yordan Alvarez. Yordan Alvarez was the only other player to have a plus 1,000 OPS behind Aaron Judge, and also he was just a better hitter all around than Ohtani was. Ohtani obviously did more things better than Yordan, pitching and obviously, but Yordan Alvarez was a runaway DH for us here as well. And then the starting pitcher, we had a little bit of a debate as well. You could go multiple directions with this, but he's both of our AL Cy Young Award winner. We went with Verlander. Sandy was in the discussion. We also had Shane from the Rays, but we felt like he was the best. And then our closing pitcher, this one was kind of interesting. Just because you have a cool trumpet theme song doesn't mean you're the best closer in baseball.
Yeah,
he's up there. He's up there.
He might be second, but Clase from the Cleveland Guardians, he was by far the best closer in our eyes. Pretty unanimous, I believe, between the 2 of us.
Most saves, I believe, all season.
I can't really. Maybe there's like one game where he really blew, but I can't really think.
It was against the Yankees too.
Yeah, I can't really think of too many off the top of my head.
And I believe he also had the highest whiff too out of closers. So
yeah,
Ryan Presley made a good run at it because he had he broke the Astros record of most consecutive batters sat down. I think it was like 28. So he went how many innings that is of three up, 3 down in a row. Then he kind of faltered, went on the IL a little bit. Edwin Diaz, very, very good at his job, not taking anything away from him. Josh Hader before he got traded.
Yeah.
Obviously was up there. That didn't pan out well for them.
Yeah.
David Bender for the Pirates had a very good year. Don't want that to go underappreciated as well. But Clase was just, in my opinion, absolutely undeniably untouchable anytime he came in the game.
Correct.
And Edwin Diaz was very good too. So I think you could honestly have a 1A, 1B there. But Clase to me was the benefactor of that. So
yep.
That wraps up the MLB awards for us. So thank you so much for staying with us for the second Coasty Awards. Let's get to our NFL pick'ems / college game pick'ems. We do a little bit of both.
We do a little bit of cross picking.
We do a little bit of cross picking. So we still got the 5 college, 5 NFL. Let's get to it. Ryan, let's start us off there.
All right. So first game, we got the Penn State Nittany Lions traveling up to Ann Arbor, take on the Michigan Wolverines. Ryan, who do you got?
Michigan.
I'm also going Michigan, but be looking out here for an upset alert. Penn State coming off a bye, well rested, get everybody healthy. Michigan coming off a pretty tough game against Indiana at Indiana. I'll be curious to see how this one turns out, but give me Michigan.
Yeah, I'm looking at the line here. It opened up as, I believe, like 8.5, and it's kind of moving towards 7. I think that's kind of showing people are kind of starting to give Penn State some respect.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't want that maize and blue color under my name, so I'm going with Penn State.
Respect.
So next game, we got the Alabama Crimson Tide traveling over for the 3rd weekend in October, I believe they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Taking on the Tennessee Volunteers in Knoxville, Tennessee. Ryan, who do you got?
Alabama.
This is the same thing that I said about Oklahoma, Texas last week. I said I'd pick Texas on the precedent that Quinn Ewers was playing, and we weren't sure when we aired. Obviously, Quinn Ewers played, and Texas won 49-0. Apparently, that didn't matter when fucking Ewers played or not.
Not matter.
But I'm going to be in the same boat. If Bryce Young plays, I'm taking Alabama. If what's his last name, Milton or something? If the backup for Alabama plays,
number 4.
If the backup for Alabama plays, I would take Tennessee. But I'm under the impression that Bryce Young's playing. I'm taking Alabama.
Yeah, so dating back to 2007, Tennessee is currently 0-39 in their last top 10 matchups.
What?
Not good. Obviously, this is the best Tennessee's been since 07.
Yeah.
Or 06, I guess, since it started in 07. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to ride that wave. I think they get to 40. You give me the Crimson Tide.
Mm-hmm.
The line also says to pick the Tide here in a money line decision.
Respect.
Next game, another matchup of undefeateds. We have the Oklahoma State Cowboys traveling down to Fort Worth, take on the TCU Horned Frogs. Horned Frogs of TCU. Ryan, who do you got?
TCU.
TCU's played really good football this past couple weeks. So beat Kansas at Kansas, tough game, trap game, and beat the brakes off Oklahoma too. So give me TCU.
Yeah, I think TCU is a really underrated football team right now. I believe they have shown more good flashes to me than Oklahoma State has.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma State has kind of played with some bad teams that people aren't really talking about. So I'm going with TCU. I believe they do technically upset the Cowboys.
I believe Oklahoma State escaped with a win. I think like a missed field goal or something happened like early in like their early weeks. I'll double check that.
I don't think it was that close, but I know they kind of played one of the directional Michigan schools not that well.
Yeah.
Next game, we have another ranked matchup between the one-loss NC State Wolfpack taking on the Syracuse Orange up in the Carrier Dome. Ryan, who do you got?
NC State.
See, I would be impervious to pick the Wolfpack because they have panned out the 2 times that I have picked them, but I'm going to go with my good friends at Syracuse. They're undefeated for a reason. I'd like to see them show their stripes here.
Yeah, look, the Carrier Dome gets after it.
Mm-hmm.
They can get loud in there. They can get rowdy. So I'm going with the Syracuse Orange in an upset over the NC State Wolfpack.
Mm-hmm.
Wolfpack. All right. 5th game. All 5 games are ranked this week.
Mm-hmm.
We have the USC Trojans traveling east to take on the Utah Utes in Salt Lake City. Ryan, who do you got?
USC.
I'm taking Utah here. I think this is USC's first real test. They didn't look great against Oregon State, only won by 3. Utah lost a big game earlier this year, 2 of them. not really a big game against Florida, but has lost 2 games. I think this is a chance to really turn the tide for them. And they got beat real bad against UCLA. Bounce back game. Give me Utah.
Yeah, I don't love my pick, but I gotta go where the money lies with my bets. So I gotta pick Utah here for my bets to all stay alive.
Oh, the Pac-12 winner.
Yeah, so I gotta stick with my Utes.
Mm-hmm.
Transitioning from college football to the NFL, Thursday night football, maybe one of the greatest matchups of all time. We have the Washington Commanders traveling to Chicago to take on the Bears. Ryan, who do you got?
The Bears.
I'm going to take the Commanders. They've got more weapons and they've got more options. Brian Robinson, for a second game back, definitely will have his footing under him a little bit better. So give me the Commanders.
I mean, I gotta go with the Bears. I mean, the Bears.
Bears.
The Bears are just they're the Bears.
They're the Bears.
Next game we got the Ravens traveling over to take on the New York Football Giants. Ryan, who do you got?
Ravens.
Give me the Ravens. Lamar's going to have a bounce back game here as well. I think that the Giants will falter here. I think their defense can't hang with how potent their offense, Ravens offense, can be.
Yeah, I think I'm picking the Ravens here. I just believe it is in New York, but I think the Giants might have some jet lag traveling all the way out from London, coming off the high of a huge.
Very easy schedule.
Yeah, and coming off a high win, just a high win. I just believe it's kind of a trap place for the Giants to lose.
They drop
the game.
one.
Yep. Another big game we have this week. Just a great week of football. Can I just say that?
You can.
I can. We got the Buffalo Bills traveling over to Kansas City to Arrowhead, take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Ryan, who do you got?
Bills.
Bills beat the brakes off of the Steelers this past week. Josh Allen's playing absolutely unreal football right now. So the Bills' offense has been as well. Chiefs got kind of a skate-away win against the Raiders there. So I'm going to take the Bills here.
Yeah, I am also going with the Bills. This is the first time, I believe, in 41 games that Patrick Mahomes has been an underdog at home. So I am going with the Buffalo Bills to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next game, we got Sunday Night Football. We have the Dallas Cowboys traveling over to Philadelphia, take on their divisional rivals and the Eagles. Ryan, who do you got?
Eagles.
Give me the Eagles as well.
Yep, I'm also going Eagles. They just have shown that they're
playing really well.
All right, last game, we got Monday Night Football. We got the Denver Broncos traveling over to SoFi, LA, to take on the Chargers. Ryan, who do you got?
Chargers.
Give me the Chargers. I think Keenan Allen will actually play in this game. That'll give Justin Herbert another weapon to look for. So give me the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chargers here. I'm just very low on the Broncos.
I'm also very low on the Broncos.
All I got to say.
Well, that concludes our pick'ems here. And let's get to our last part of the show, Ryan's 2-minute drill. Ryan, whenever you're ready, let me know. For those of you that don't know, Ryan's 2-minute drills, things that he scours the internet, scours on the Twitter sphere, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. Oh, before we get to the 2-minute drill, as I was going to get there, let's shout out National Road Golf Course,
yes.
our last sponsor of the podcast. Weather's changing. It's raining right now. It's getting colder. National Road Golf Course still can get your golf course needs. They still have a full range driving range. You can do driving range when it's a little colder out. It's definitely much more doable than playing 18 holes. They also have the simulators inside. You can get your full range of clubs, play on the golf range, see what your distances are, see everything there. Or if you just want to play 18 at any golf course basically in the world, they've got the famous ones. They've got the fun ones. So make sure you check out the simulators at National Road Golf Course. We love them. They love us. Please let them know that we sent you. John and I will be out there very frequently in the winter.
Yes.
So honing in our game. But let's get to Ryan's 2-minute drill here. Like I said before, this is the things that Ryan finds on the internet interesting that he wants to bring to our attention. We got 2 minutes to answer these 5 questions. Quick hits, quick thoughts. Ryan, whenever you're ready.
All right. And Nike has signed 5 student athletes to NIL deals with headliners like Bronny and Caitlin Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Do we like major companies giving out deals like this?
I think it's a slippery slope, but I'm not opposed to it.
I'm cool with all money-making opportunities, but I don't see a true return on investment for these companies.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Rule was fired from the Panthers this week. Does the tide turn for Baker and the Panthers?
I think so, because Matt Rule's not a good football coach.
No, but I'll be interested to see where Matt Rule lands in college.
Justin Tucker has converted 58 consecutive fourth quarter / overtime field goal attempts. New GOAT in the making.
Until he passes that points record, Vinatieri, and I know he can't knock Justin Tucker for this, but you got to make big-time kicks in big-time spots, like a Super Bowl playoff games. He just hasn't been there. That's not necessarily his fault, but it's hard to be the GOAT when you're not there.
I would say no, because he already is the GOAT. Just pound for pound, the greatest player in NFL history.
Tom Brady and Kim Clijsters
I'll take your word for it.
are some of the new investors of the Pickleball League. Well, other athletes will get into this.
I think Patty Mahomes or somebody that has like a bunch of money, maybe Gronk, somebody that can, really spend it, maybe some NBA players as well.
Yeah, I could see maybe like a Mike Moustakas getting in there.
Stop it. Stop it right now.
Heisman Trophy odds released after week 6, and 2 running backs are cracked the list as it's the year for a non-quarterback to win the award.
I don't know, man. CJ Stroud looks really good. Bryce Young, obviously, he's still very good at the football, but look for the Bulls quarterback, especially if he beats Alabama this week.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 in the top 10, but they're like number 8 and number 9. Like, no, it's their top 5 or 6 are all quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are looking good this year.
Yeah, Blake Corum looks really good for Michigan. He's definitely, I think, Michigan's brightest spot, in my opinion, for their offense at least, or at least most consistent. But he's definitely popping off this year. But, I mean, it'd just be hard for anybody non-quarterback to win a Heisman Trophy, especially the way CJ's playing. CJ's playing absolutely lights out.
I mean, he had 6 touchdowns
Against
Saturday. I know Michigan State's defense isn't that good, but
Especially the pass defense is fucking awful.
yeah,
but
you look at the stats, it's obviously him right now.
yeah. Well, that concludes our episode here of Coast to Coast Sports and the Coasty Awards. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Be a friend, tell a friend, share with a friend. And John, you got anything to say to people before we let them go?
No.
No, I got nothing to say to people. The ship rocks. You don't even say
Oh, yeah. This ship rocks. Shout out the Clippers, best fan base in baseball. Huntington Park, we'll see you next year.
We'll see you next year. Ryan, you got anything to say to people before we let them go?
Make sure you leave a like and comment on the video.
Like, comment,
Thumbs up,
subscribe,
YouTube
ring that bell.
Yeah, ring
as the people
ring
say.
those bells, baby.
And only thing I got to say is postseason baseball is the best form of playoff in any sport. I don't care what anybody says. That's all I got to say. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, guys. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Peace.